Welcome to ACD Combatives, your combatives and control tactics channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. Alright guys, today we're going to review the basic front kick for the white and yellow belt curriculum. Again, this is super basic, and I say front kick and there's variations to the front kick, and I think it's important that you start getting introduced to that at the white and yellow belt level. Are you going to master it? Probably not, but it's probably the most important, most useful kick in the martial arts. I mean, there might be someone that would argue that, and I would totally listen to their point of view, but in my mind it is, if you only had one kick, it would be a front kick and or its variations. So you'll see, first of all, in your fighting stance, first of all, you might be in a neutral stance, what we consider a neutral stance, and this is also an important part of the curriculum at white and yellow belt. Neutral stance would be you're just standing around minding your own business. It's not that you should never be in the stance, it's just you're a human being. You're going to be in condition white once in a while, where you're standing in line looking for something, or for whatever reason you're in the neutral stance. I recommend that you make it a habit, and you'll see this with off-duty law enforcement, even on duty, especially on duty. They'll always be staggered off a little bit. It's just because in law enforcement they teach you to always have your weapons side to the rear. Now, with that being said, I'm a bit of a oddball because I started in Kaji Kembo, Tumpai Centerline variation, very Southern Kung Fu influenced. And if you've heard of like Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do and some of those Southern style influenced martial arts, they teach strong side forward. It worked out great for me because later on, as you know, I enjoy adding grappling and jiu-jitsu and so forth to my system. So you see wrestlers fight with their strong side forward. So it worked out great for me. But if you're going to be just strictly a striker, like a kickboxer or whatever you want to do, and you're just self-defense or just any martial art in general, I highly recommend you do it like everyone else, and have, like if you were right-handed, have your strong side to the rear, because that's all your powers come from that. Now, over the years, I've developed the power, the good technique with rotation, and I mention rotation because that's just as important with kicks. So with the gun belt on, as you can see, I advocate more of what you'd see Bas Rutten used in the ring, more of a squared off stance. You get your fence up. If you're in what I call an interview stance, you just be like that. People say, well, your gun's to the front. No, this would be having my gun to the front, like if I was fighting from a horse stance. And I think the whole concept of having your gun to the front or the rear at any given time in a conflict, your gun is going to be forward or backward. Plus, at any given time, your taser is going to be forward and backward. And you don't want anybody to get a hold of that either, because they can incapacitate you and take your gun and kill you with your gun. So it's not that one's more important than the other. You want people to not have your tools in general. So with that in mind, be aware of your tools and their location. That's something you should be anyway. So you're in the fighting stance, you're squared off like this. Some people say, well, your groin is more vulnerable. Of course, there is no perfect stance. If I'm like this, then I'm more vulnerable to takedowns, or the roundhouse kick is more difficult to defend. You get the idea. There is no perfect animal, there is no perfect solution. But back to the front kick. I mentioned all the stuff concerning stance because that's a super important part of the curriculum as well. Neutral stance, interview stance, like so. This is more like how I do it. Just stagger back a little bit. And just being ready. Having your fence up, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's better looking than this. You just, you get your fence up like, I don't want to fight, or like, hey, stop. You have access to your tools. You can sidestep, get out of the way, what have you. So back to the front kick. There are variations to the front kick. We're going to talk about the A-frame, but I can't really demonstrate it extremely well because the A-frame, and then that's what we're going to start with because that's probably the most basic variation of the front kick, is reminiscent of a soccer kick. It's not a classic martial art front kick. Generally speaking, it's from the rear leg. I throw it a lot from the lead leg, and we're going to talk about that, lead versus rear leg front kicks. I throw it from the lead a lot, but teaching it right off, it's like you're dropping into it. You want to launch them into the moon. The A-frame, I call it the A-frame and not the instep kick, because instep or growing kick, and you hear in Krav. Growing isn't necessarily the target. There's a lot of sensitive nerves, and actually, as a law enforcement officer, that's what I'm aiming for. It's inconsequential. It's the individual's fault. If he's moving and actively trying to fight me, and he gets it in the growing on accident, that's not my fault. My intent was to hit here. It's reasonably objective, Graham v. Connor, that if he's resisting arrest and actively fighting me, and I'm aiming for a target, and in the melee he gets it, then so be it. But from a civilian's point of view, or just self-defense, because even cops can be self-defense, the guy's pulling a knife out, and you boom to the groin really quick so you can make space, totally acceptable. So A-frame kick, you just imagine that he's standing there, and you're coming right up. A-frame with the lead leg. It's a little different, a little more complicated for a non-martial artist to start out with. Lead leg kick, you're sliding with the rear, and you're just popping up into the growing. Same thing. It's not a fancy chambered kick like a typical lead leg front kick. It's just bam, straight up into the groin. So rear leg, just straight up, and from this side, or lead leg, or lead leg. Again, it's just up. It's not a fancy kick. Standard front kick, a thrust, or Muay Thai they call it a teep. In my system we just call it front kick. I occasionally you'll hear me call it a teep because I've cross-trained with some Muay Thai guys, and I love their way of doing it. I really try to incorporate a lot of Muay Thai influence to the front kick. So with the lead leg, the person's there. Again, I'm sliding up, and boom. You see me chamber and thrust. I don't like going any higher than the diaphragm. You hit somebody right here in the diaphragm or down to the pelvic girdle, that's your target zone. You hit them in the pelvic girdle, boom, a lot of times they're going to fold over, and that opens them up for other stuff, which we'll continue on in a different series. Front kick with the rear leg, same thing, I'm chambering and thrusting. Watch my hips as I thrust in, boom, I'm exaggerating it, just so you can see it. If you're going to drop down again, don't just drop, someone can sweep you. So you should be able to bam, and control the descent of the kick. So again, you'll see me use the lead leg a lot. This is about front kick in general, lead and rear leg. I'm a huge fan of that lead leg. So people might say it's not quite as powerful, but I've done some serious damage with it. I'm a huge fan of lead leg. It's like the jab of punching, and you can do a lot with it. It's fast, and it's closest weapon to the closest target. Definitely a Krav Maga concept. Closest weapon, closest target. Like a jab, for example, boom, it's closest that you follow up for the rear punch. But again, lead leg, boom, rear leg, chambering, thrusting, back again, or chambering, thrusting, and controlled drop. All right, guys, that's the front kick. Thanks. Okay, quick example time. All right, guys, this is Kurt. You see me here drilling. This is Dutch style drilling. You're using your training partner is using boxing gloves instead of focus mitts, and he's calling off combinations 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 being a jab, 2 being a cross. You get the idea. And in between, I'm using the front kick and that was just a roundhouse kick. But you get the idea. I'm using the front kick as a way to keep him off of me or to finish a pattern. Just a quick example of how you might use the front kick and why I'm such a big fan of it. If you have any questions about the front kick or any other techniques, let me know. Everybody take care, stay safe, and send me requests. Take care.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.